From the very beginning, Lord of the Rings fans were calling out Amazon over Rings of Power. Before we even saw a moment of the actual show, the way that it was being marketed, what they were telling us about these characters, the trailer that came out, everything about it screamed, this is not Tolkien, this is not Lord of the Rings, this is not canon. And that's exactly what played out. We saw that happen in the show. Despite the showrunners all along saying, we're going to be true to the lore, we're going to be true to canon, that was absolutely not the case. And it ended up being a disaster for Amazon. Something that cost $700 million for season 1. That's what the cost was. That is far and away the highest priced television show we've ever seen in history. So they needed it to break all kinds of records. It absolutely did not do that. And we saw from the beginning how the fans felt about it. They despised it while the critics protected it. Well, now the showrunners once again are getting desperate to get people to come back for a second season of this garbage. The Lord of the Rings of Power showrunners claim second season will be canonical after repeatedly lying to fans about the first season. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That's what everybody should be thinking right now, because we saw it. We saw the writing on the wall. We saw all these original characters being invented. We even saw pre-established existing characters that were race swapped for diversity reasons. We saw a character called Hallbrand who ended up being Sauron, which was obvious to everybody except the people who were in denial. It was a joke. It was a shit show. It was fan fiction, and it was horrendous. And now they want to try to coax people in by saying, don't worry, we promise. Even though we told you the first season was going to be canon, now really the second season, this one will be canon. We promise you. What a bunch of losers. The Lord of the Rings of Power showrunners promised the second season of their show will be canonical to Tolkien's work, despite nearly a year of promising that for the first season, and those promises ultimately being revealed as lies that anyone who watched the creatively bankrupt first season can attest. Speaking with Hollywood Reporter ahead of the first season finale, showrunner Patrick McKay detailed what viewers can expect of the second season. He said season 2 has a canonical story. There may well be viewers who are like, this is the story we're hoping to get in season 1. In season 2, we're giving it to them. That statement by itself is an admission of guilt. It's an admission that they were lying to people, because that's what they told us about the first one. They said, we're not going to do anything contrary to canon. We're not going to do anything that Tolkien wouldn't have wrote or wouldn't have wanted. We always go back to the book, back to the book, back to the book. These people are liars and manipulators and schemers, and they do not care if they desecrate the great works of J.R.R. Tolkien. They're very, very clear about that. It's a clear admission that season 1 is not a canonical story, despite their repeated claims that they were constantly going back to the book and the source material as they attempted to justify their perversion of Tolkien's work. Maybe the biggest lie they told was during San Diego Comic-Con, where showrunner J.D. Payne was asked, there are characters played by actors who will be out here in just moments who are not canonical. That must be one of the greatest challenges. How do you fill out that world with characters that are implied but not necessarily described in depth? What guidance do you use? As part of his answer, Payne said, so 1, always go back to Tolkien, and 2, when Tolkien was silent, we tried to invent Tolkienian a way as possible. Go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book. These people tried to tell everyone, they tried to lie to everybody. They said that this is canon. We would never do anything that contradicted J.R.R. Tolkien, and then we saw an entire season 1 that was all contradictions. This is not Lord of the Rings, and that is why the fans had the reaction that they had. They could tell, they could sniff it from the beginning, the way that these people were talking about modern audiences, attacking the fan base as racist if you had a problem with these non-Middle-earth castings that they were doing. Patrick McKay, J.D. Payne, these people are liars. They are evil fucking manipulators. And they inserted identity politics everywhere into this. They had basically like a Trump theme, or you basically had the Numenorians going full build the wall. You know, they tried to do everything they could to bring current day, modern day identity politics into this, and it backfired. It didn't work. Even with the season finale, the ratings that just came out, it just had a slight, tiny bump to their overall streaming numbers. Like, it did not do what they needed this to do. They needed to be a massive global phenomenon, and it was anything but that. It's almost like when you take something that's pre-established and completely change it for identity politics purposes, it's not going to work. It will continue to fail. That's what we've seen time and time again in Hollywood. It's what we saw with Rings of Power Season 1, but it was a failure, maybe unlike any other we've ever seen. How big this flopped is astounding. Something that cost $700 million could not come close to breaking any sort of streaming records in any way, shape, or form. They needed it to be a global phenomenon. It was anything but that. Let me know your thoughts about the showrunners continuing to lie and trying to draw people back into Season 2 by saying, don't worry, this time we promise it'll be canon. What a joke. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.